Hey everyone, welcome to Transformation Tuesday. It is just before 11 o'clock. I'm going to get started just a couple of seconds early. I've always found that one of the hardest things about these is to find a connection with whoever's getting interviewed. So I try to start a couple minutes early. For those of you who don't know me, and there aren't that many anymore, I don't think, but those of you who don't know me, I am John Bauer. I have Bauerpower Fitness Consulting, and we are on Facebook. And if you are ever looking for any information, advice, consulting, or anything as far as personal training, I would be glad to talk to you. But that is not why we're here today. It is Transformation Tuesday, and we are going to talk to Ian Watkins. And Ian, I see that you are on, but I don't see that I can add you. Oh, there we go. Here we go. The magic of Facebook Live. Hey man, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you again. It's been a while. I
Yes,
haven't.
sir.
We've talked early in the morning because that's when we both go to the gym. But I haven't.
That's right. That's right.
we don't usually text or anything more than text or a
That's
quick
right.
thing. How have you been doing?
Doing well, man. Doing
Are
well.
you
Just
good?
living life, working a lot, working out a lot. So, yeah.
And what do you do? Kind of just to begin a little couple of things while we're bringing a few people on.
Mhm.
What is your real world job?
Sure. So, yeah, I work as a salesman, doing business to business sales, and I work for a logistics company. So,
Okay. And what does a
uh,
logistics company do?
yeah, so we do handle freight for
Okay.
retail customers, things like that. And then also, you're probably familiar with the company Pods.
Yes.
So we're a direct competitor with them as well. So
Ah,
with portable
okay.
storage. Yep. So that's
Okay.
it.
That's
Not
great.
not what I thought I would be doing when I was five, and thinking about my life. But
What did you think you'd be doing when you were five?
so when I was five, I actually wanted to be shortstop for the Atlanta Braves. So that was my big dream. I lived in Georgia at the time,
Okay.
and
Okay.
slash wanted to be an astronaut. So those were
There's
the aspirations. Yeah,
there's not too many 5 year olds I don't think that don't want to be an astronaut. I
right,
think that's a pretty
right.
common. I mean that cowboy and fireman are pretty much
hmm
probably the
hmm
top 5 year old
Yeah,
jobs.
my 5-year-old, he told me the other day he wants to be a fireman. So he fits
There you
right in
go.
there. So
There you
yeah,
go. There you go.
so
And speaking of your 5 year old, you are a dad of how many?
5 children. Yeah.
Okay. And
So.
what ages are your five kids?
So they range from 11, the oldest, who is my only girl, and go all the way down to 18 months. So we have 11, 9, 5, 3, and 18 months.
Oh my word. So
That's a
you
handful.
pretty much got every like demographic of child going on.
I do. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
have
you're
quite a few,
about to have you don't have
except
a
for a
teenager.
teenager.
You don't have a
We're almost
teenager,
there.
but you will have a teenager and a toddler at the same time.
That's right.
What is the toughest one? Which is the toughest? Let me ask you that.
Mm, um, I that's tough. I think probably depends on the day. Probably the 3-year-old. But most of the time, he's just in that. He's coming out of the terrible twos slash wants to do everything on his own. So
Okay.
he can be tough. And then, to be honest, for me, the 11-year-old, because she's starting her becoming a woman phase, and that's just
Oh yeah.
tough on me. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That's a challenge. How many girls and how many boys?
I just have the one girl and then four
Okay.
boys. Yep.
Okay. So you're gonna have the
So
whole becoming a woman thing, but then it's gonna be all you.
that's
This
right.
is gonna be
That's right.
all you. So by the
Yep.
time the last one is getting to that demographic or whatever,
Sure.
you're gonna be like, you need to write a book because you're gonna be a pro by number
That's what
four.
my mother-in-law says too. Yeah.
You are gonna need to write a book. Okay. So five kids. Tell me a little bit now. Obviously, we're here to talk about transformations. Tell
Sure.
me a little bit about things where they started for you when you were kid, youth, teenager kind of thing yourself.
Sure. So I grew up Fairly lazy, to be honest. I played baseball most of my life, but I was overweight and never really had too much interest in fitness at all until I was 19 or 20. I think I was 20. I think it was 10 years ago. And it was really my daughter. She had just turned 1. And I weighed 280 pounds at the time. I worked in a restaurant, but I mean, other than, being on my feet for that, I didn't really do any other activity.
Okay.
And so I realized at the time, if I wanted to be around to see my daughter grow up and graduate high school and live an adult life, that I needed to take care of my body.
Okay.
And so I sort of had a come to Jesus moment, if you will, and and just woke up and decided that was actually, I want to say it was December 29th. I just woke up, so it was not really a New Year's resolution.
And how many years ago? How many years ago?
This was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, okay.
And so it was a semi-New Year's resolution. It wasn't really a formal one, but I just decided I was going to start going to the gym and lose weight, and didn't really know what to do other than I knew if I cut out sugar and I ran that I would lose weight. And so that's what I did. I cut out all the sugar I was eating. I cut out dairy and basically just ate meat, vegetables, and fruit for 6 weeks to try to just cleanse my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I started running. And within a year, I went from day 1, January 1st, I couldn't even run 1/10 of a mile. At the end of the year, I was running 5 to 8 miles regularly, and I'd lost 120 pounds.
Wow. So you basically lost like 10 pounds a month for that first year.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is what, 2008?
Yes, 2008 to 2009. And so obviously it fluctuated. Some months would be more than others.
Sure.
The first month I lost, I think, 25 pounds. They just it took about 2 weeks, and then they just started falling off. So, so I went from somewhere around, I think I was at 36 or 38% body fat to start, and when I finished, I was around 15% body fat, 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. And like I said, I ran all the time. I rode my bike everywhere I went, and so I was huge into cardio at the time.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you, before you lost your weight, you were up to 280, and I always got to ask because it's hard for people to imagine. How tall are you?
I'm just at 6'1".
So, okay. Yeah. Okay. I kind of think I always got to compare to myself and see.
Sure.
Okay. Was it more, I mean, you talked about being lazy. Was it just the lack of exercise, or were you really struggling with diet too? And if so, where did that struggle come from? What was the struggle for you?
Sure. So for me, it was both. And exercise, I just really didn't do any at all. And diet, at the time, to be honest, before I started, I would drink a case of Mountain Dew, like a 12-pack of Mountain Dew a day.
Wow.
I was probably eating 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. I mean, I was just I didn't care. I just ate and ate and ate. Most of that would be carbs and sugar, to be honest.
Sure.
But diet, I grew up eating pretty poorly. My family, for the most part, growing up, most of them were overweight. And so it was a struggle that I had even on a familial level. Mm-hmm. And my dad, being the one person who actually has been into weightlifting is pretty much his whole life. He was in the military, and so my parents were divorced, but I saw that from him. I was just never interested in it.
Right.
So on that level, it's just sort of what I knew. I just grew up eating that way.
Yeah.
And so when it came down to changing, but like I said, the only thing I knew was, well, sugar is probably not good for you, so I'll cut that out first.
Yeah.
Over time, obviously, 10 years of research and all those things, I've learned a lot more. And come to really appreciate eating whole foods and things like that. But yeah, so that it was both.
What was the hardest food to give up?
Mm. I think at first for me it was ice cream. I used to eat ice cream every single day, like without fail, 365 days a year. I ate ice cream, and so,
Wow.
um, I come to find out, actually, my whole life I had digestive issues
Uh-huh.
and just stomach issues most of high school, and I came to find out that I was lactose intolerant through cutting out dairy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so a lot of the inflammation and things that I experienced on a daily basis, those went away after I cut out dairy. And more recently, in the last year or so, I've come to find out I don't do well with gluten either. And so that's another thing I've had to cut out. But early on, ice cream was the hardest. Recently, I would say I went through a cut recently, and probably just really having to get rid of bread was really tough for me, because that's one of the greatest foods on earth to me. So so it's tough. But and there's not a ton of really good alternatives that are gluten free. So there's a
Right.
few that are okay, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is the stuff, and I mean, and I have it from time to time, it's the Ezekiel bread. Is that gluten free?
I don't know if it is or not. I know they
Because I've
use
had
like,
that, and that, to me, that's a really good
yeah, I know they focus on
alternative.
like sprouted grains and things. I'm not
Yes.
sure if
Yeah, the
it's
sprouted
gluten.
grains ones.
It may be gluten free, but yeah,
Okay.
there's a brand. It's a German brand. Char bread is pretty good.
Okay.
It's about the closest to regular bread I've found. So
Okay. Okay. So 2008, you dropped from what, 280 down to 160? Is
once
that where you are?
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, yeah,
What next? I mean, we're 10 years later. Talk to me a
sure.
little bit and tell me what goes on the next 5-10 years. And you're running a
hmm
lot more. Did you start doing races at all, or just kind of do it for pleasure? Or
Yeah, I never got into racing. I was really big into trail running, and
okay. Oh yeah, that's great
at the
stuff.
yeah, I love it. And
Yeah.
at the time, I lived in the mountains in Kentucky, and
Okay.
so I had a plethora of trails to run, and so
Oh man.
I would just that's what I would do. I would just do trail running for pleasure. Um, so fast forward. So basically, for 4 to 5 years after I lost the weight, I kept the weight off. I started uh, college when about a year after I lost the weight,
Okay.
and so
So you did this in high school?
I didn't. No, no, no. I was an adult,
Okay.
so
Okay. Oh, you went to college
yeah,
later. Okay. I'm sorry.
that's right, that's right.
Okay.
So I started college, and it kind of slowed me down, obviously, on the workouts. Had a few
Yeah.
more kids, and so I went from my son was born right after I'm pretty sure it was right after I'd finished the 1 year mark, if I remember right. And so um, anyway, so he was born, and then we had a third when I was in college, and so time started to slip away from me. And so after I graduated, and I moved actually to North Carolina, where I live now, to go to seminary. And then time was completely gone for working out. And so I've been here for 5 years, and over those 5 years, I ended up putting on about 40 pounds that I had lost previously, just through, I mean, I work full time. I was going to school full time. I have 5 children, so just
You don't have much going on.
yeah,
I mean, you got a lot of free.
not a
I don't
lot.
know what your excuse is. I mean, you got a lot of free
Sure.
time.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was getting to the point again where I just always felt sick and tired, and
Uh-huh.
a matter of fact, I would never catch a cold. I never got sick at all. And I had started to get to the point where, once a month or something, I was catching a virus, and it was just, I knew it was time. I had to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And yeah, so back in December of last year, I had that sort of aha moment again, and started. Already knew what to do. I cut a lot of things out of my diet and cut my calories down, and then started working out and just doing aerobic stuff at home with my family, actually, to start. And I measured using calipers at the time. I measured was back up to 28% body fat, and I was weighing around 205. And started working out then. I'm now, it's now almost, we'll call it mid-April. So about 4 months, and I'm down to about 20% body fat right now, and I'm at 194 for my weight, but I just had a test done 3 or 4 days ago, and I've put on 13 pounds of muscle. So, moving in the right direction there, I would say. So, so I started to go along with that. 9 weeks ago, I started lifting weights for the first time in my life, and have found a new love. And so
there is nothing like the love of iron. There is nothing like the love of iron.
That's right. I PR'd my deadlift this morning, so that's a great feeling.
It was how much?
So I repped out 225 for the first time, and my 1 rep max I got over 250. So
nice.
which was a big milestone for me trying to get to that. So
you're feeling like pretty much the baddest ass in the room right now. Yeah,
it feels great, man. Yeah. So and I actually have a goal with that. I'm sure you were going to ask me that later, but my goal is I'm working towards getting to 400 on my pull for my deadlift hopefully by January. And so that was a big milestone for me. I wanted to be able to clear my 1 rep over 250 by the end of this month, and I've already done it. So. Yeah, so it's great.
You're on my tail, Ian. I'm going to have to keep moving on my tail. I'm going to have to keep moving on my tail list. You're on my tail because 400 is kind of where I want to hit too. So
yeah, like I said, I've never lifted weights, so I've got as they call it, the new routines going on. So
man, I was going to ask you something and I forgot what. Alex asked a question, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about it as the kids kept coming. Okay, how and I mean, even in my experience, and I only have 3, but I know that as the kids keep coming and you're in that toddler infant kind of cycle that never seems to stop. You more than me, but how do you push through? Because it's really hard to stay motivated. It's really hard to figure the time. You probably struggle a little bit more with the whole guilt thing, feeling like I should be home and helping out at home more. How do you first question is, how do you wrestle through that, and how did you get through that? And then the second question is as the kids came, did your fitness goals change? And if so, how?
Sure. So the first question, feeling the responsibility of time and things is a part of what kept me from working out for the last 5 years. And it was very much a guilt thing, to a large degree. I felt like I'm working full time and I've got all this other stuff going on, and I need to be, primarily a husband and a father.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, how can I go work out after work when I'm already taking the biggest chunk of my day, and a lot of the jobs I've had, I've worked 10 or 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And so really I get to see my kids and my wife for 2 to 3 hours in the evening before everybody has to go to bed. And so taking another hour away didn't feel right. And so, for a long time, I allowed that to be a crutch of sorts, or really to cripple me from staying in shape. And as of, recent days and for the past 10 weeks, I just decided, instead of taking time away in the evening, I'll just get up an hour earlier. And so I get up at 4 a.m. and work out every day. And I thought it was going to suck really bad. Like I think I actually had a conversation with you very early on. Looking at yours and Chris Hughes from The Driven Dad. You guys posting the watches every morning. Yeah. I think I told you I don't know if I can get up at 4 a.m. and work out, but I'm going to do what I can. And much to my surprise, and now it makes total sense. The first day sucked really bad getting up that early, but what I felt after I lifted weights that day, I had so much more energy. And now I crash earlier at night now. Like, my wife makes fun of me because at 9:30, my brain's just gone. I'm done. And I can barely stay awake. So, that's been a bit of a change, but otherwise, getting up that early to do it, I can't see doing anything else, and I love it. On days when I if I'm sick or I miss for some reason, it kills me. Like I want to find a way to get to the gym, you know, and so. Yeah, so it drives me out of bed every morning. You know, I usually wake up before my alarm goes off, ready to go. And
isn't that crazy? Yeah, I mean, it's like it's just crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's how I had to solve that, and it's been excellent for that. And then, as far as fitness goals, how they've changed with the kids, I think initially my initial fitness goal 10 years ago was just get really skinny. I mean, that honestly, my entire life I've dealt with body image issues and feeling insecure because I was fat, just to be plain about it. And I always wanted to look a certain way, but thought it wasn't possible. And for me, back 10 years ago, the way that I wanted to look was to be really skinny. I wanted to be a skinny guy. And so that's what I did. I lost, 120 pounds, and I was, if you see pictures of me at that point, I was really skinny. To the point that people were asking me if I was sick, like, are you okay? And I would tell them, like, no, I work out all the time. It's fine,
Yeah, I got that too.
So that was my goal initially. Over time, I would say, for the last 8 or 10 years, it's been just to be healthy. And even when I wasn't working out, I was pretty conscious of what I was eating most of the time, just because I knew that diet is a huge factor. And so I would watch that even if I wasn't working out. Now that I have 5 kids, 4 of them being boys, and I've come to realize that strength is a huge importance in a man's life, I feel. My goal in fitness is, 1, to live a life that inspires my kids to live healthy and fit lives, to see that it can be a natural part of life, and that it actually makes you feel good and live longer. And 2, I want to be as strong as my body will allow me to go. And that comes from, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to recently, but they gave details on how it's a stronger person, a person who's stronger is harder to kill, even for disease. Like, the stronger you are, the harder it is for cancer to kill you, the harder it is for you to die of heart disease, all those kind of things. So It's not impossible, obviously, but you're setting yourself up for success, right, or as much as you can. And so those are my goals now. I want to see really I want to see what the highest deadlift my body will allow me to pull if I just train myself regularly and squat and bench press, all that stuff. So those are my current fitness goals with the kids in mind. I can't wait. My oldest son, he already works out because I work out, he'll do little crunches and push-ups and stuff. And he's so, of course it's kind of free for him right now, but he's starting to get a little bit of a six pack from doing all that stuff. And he's so proud of it. And, but he already tells me he can't wait to go to the gym with me, so if I create a home gym or eventually can take him to the gym, I think he has to be 13 to go to the gym that I go to. So, he's got a couple of years, but I can't wait to be able to, take him with me someday. So.
Okay. So you've got a little bit more to your story than just the physical transformation. And I want to talk about it. And first of all, let me tell you, I mean, it's amazing because so much of what you just talked about, I mean, there's going to be a ton of people who are going to hear this and are going to relate to it so much, because listening to me, I just was talking with somebody else today about the struggle of body image. And I think it's something that guys deal with a lot, and a lot of guys deal with it in silence because it's not a guy thing to talk about. It's something that we think only girls talk about. So I think that's a great thing. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that there's a lot of guys out there who struggle with that. Especially guys like you and me who were fat at one point in time. I hate to use that word, but we were. I mean,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah. We were fat. And I mean, just though that we struggle with that, and still, when we look in the mirror now, and it's hundreds of pounds ago, we
Mm-hmm.
still have a difficult time seeing that. So I mean, that's great that you mentioned that.
Sure.
So thank you. But another interesting twist, and it's something that you and I have kind of had in common, is we get to this point where we're really excited where we're going in our fitness, and you're excited, and you talk about a little bit, inspiring your kids, but there's more to it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell everybody what you are doing
Sure.
to inspire everybody around you.
Sure. So I'll have to backtrack a little bit. So 10 years ago, I lost all the weight, but I also, I think we talked about this last time when we had a little interview on a different page. When you begin to change your body physically, you also change mentally, right?
Yeah.
You get in the gym, you change how you think about food, how you think about life in general. Well, at the same time, I actually became a Christian, and I did not grow up that way, and the household I grew up in, we weren't religious. My dad was a Christian, but like I said before, my parents were divorced and I didn't live with him. And so, around the same time I became a follower of Jesus, and then had seen some transformation, how my mental and physical transformation played into that spiritual transformation as well. But I didn't really think anything of it until, a few months ago when I started working out again, and I began to see that my spiritual life was affected directly by how I'm taking care of my body. And the more that I work out, the healthier I get, the clearer I can think about spiritual things, and the more, the easier it is for me to devote time to prayer, meditation, all those sorts of things. And so I just had sort of a moment where I was actually was reading my Bible, and I just got done working out, and it was just like this light bulb moment when I realized that the body and the spirit go together, and they're one piece. And I thought, in 10 years of being a Christian, I've seen a lot of pastors, and the majority of them, unfortunately, are either overweight or out of shape, and they eat terribly, a lot of them, because, let's face it, they're busy like the rest of us are, but they eat fast food a lot, or they just don't take care of their bodies. And I just had this moment where I actually started crying, to be honest, to be open about it, and I just thought, like, I have an experience in life where I can see personally that I lost weight, I got into shape, and my spiritual life got so much better. And what if I help others do that as well? What if I at least spread that message so that others have the opportunity to do that? And that initial thought that sparked has turned into, sort of a mission to help pastors nationwide if I can. And so I'm starting at ground level of building a ministry or a business to help them with that. And it'll be more than just personal training. That'll be a part of it. I'm currently pursuing a nutrition certification from what a lot of experts in the field have told me is the best one you can get, precision nutrition. So I'm working through that. I'm partnering with a friend of mine who's in my small group, who is a personal trainer and has a degree in exercise physiology, and also has a passion for this. And we're beginning the process of trying to help pastors understand that when you do take care of your body, you can overcome a lot of issues that they run into. Just a statistic that I found out there, there's a research group called Pew Research. They do tons of things, research in the church. And there was a statistic from, I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago, that I saw concerning pastoral burnout. And essentially, whenever a pastor begins his ministry, the likelihood of him being in ministry 5 years later is only 20% chance that he's going to be there. 80% of pastors that within 5 years have burnout and they're no longer in the ministry. And the same thing could be said for normal jobs, but there's something different about being in a ministry position. You're set apart for that. There's a lot that goes on with it. But within being a pastor, the stresses of daily life, you're not just concerned for your own life. You're concerned for everybody that goes to your church.
Right.
And so, depending on the size if they have a 50 members or 5,000 members, to some degree, they care about each of those people, and all those people have their own burdens, right, that they're bearing. And so that's just a stressful position to be in. And the more stress they have, the more tired, fatigued they become, and then add on top of that eating poorly and a lack of exercise, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
And that's all of those factors. Now there could be some other factors, obviously psychologically and things that go into it, but if they take care of their bodies, if we as people, human beings, take care of our bodies, we sleep well, we're eating good whole foods, and we're trying to move as much as we're able to within our daily lives, then we should be able to avoid those burnout issues as much as possible. And so I want to help pastors with that, and really I see it as a ministry to pastors, as not something, it's not something for me to get rich off of or anything like that. It's really a heart that I have to help other people, like you were saying. I've always felt my entire life that I wanted to help others, and I've come to realize, I'm not the only person that's ever lost a lot of weight. I'm not the only person that's ever gotten in shape, but I have my own story, and through people around me, my immediate network, finding out my story, people I work with, people I go to church with, it's amazing time after time to see like their eyes light up, and they say, man, I wish I could do that, or that's an amazing story. I need to lose 15 pounds or whatever it is. And, over time, I've just begun to see this is something that I've been given an opportunity that I can help others with. And so that's the goal, is to be able to do that.
That is awesome. And, I love to hear stories like that. What I love to hear the most, and it's so vividly clear in what you're saying, is just your passion and your heart for it. I mean, I can just hear it in your voice, and I think that's great. And I think that's something that, is going to carry you a long way as an encouragement, is just that passion, and that commitment to it. So I think that's great. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got two real quick questions I want to wrap up with.
Sure.
You have talked a lot about different struggles. So the first question is, out of all of the struggles that you've had in your transformation, up and down and things like that, what would you say is the biggest struggle you had?
I think the biggest struggle for me, honestly, even as I was losing weight previously, and even now I deal with this, is imposter syndrome. When I would, 10 years ago, when I lost 120 pounds, I felt like a fake skinny guy, if that makes sense. Like I would walk around.
Yeah, totally.
It sounds crazy to people who've never experienced it, but I honestly felt like I was fake. Even though I had put in the hard work and I had done day in and day out what it took to lose 120 pounds, I just felt fake. And so I struggled with that for a long time. And then as I started to see pounds come back on, that struggle got worse, of like, man, now I did this, I lost all this weight, and now look at me, I can't even control it.
Yep.
And so now working out, I think the imposter syndrome that I struggle with now is in the gym, to be honest. Like I go in there and I lift weight, and I'm like, it's not really a fear of what other people think, but I'm just conscious of the fact that I've not been a weightlifter my whole life, and I'm new to this, only 9-10 weeks in, and I'm always worried about what if people think I'm a fake, or I just, I struggle with that. And so I have to almost daily remind myself that I'm not an imposter, because I'm the guy that's actually in there doing the work.
That is great that you're not the imposter, because you're the guy in there doing the work. That is, you know what? And I get the takeaway from that, because I struggle with the same thing. I've been doing it for I'm closing in on a year of doing it, and I still go into the gym and feel that way. And so that's a great way to think of it, is just I'm not the imposter because I'm the one in there doing the work. And and it's so true. Last question for you. What does defining dad bod mean to you?
Yeah, so for me, I think our culture has accepted that dads are supposed to be out of shape and a little pudgy, or sometimes a lot of pudgy, and I had allowed myself to agree with that, and even my wife would say to me, a year ago, it's okay, honey. When I would say things like, "Man, my pants don't fit anymore," she's like, "It's okay, you just got that dad bod," and and I just let it go by for a long time, and to me, defining dad bod is actually, as I'm sure many people would say, and I've had conversations with Alex, the founder, about, it's actually redefining it to be that, no, dad bod doesn't just mean that you're out of shape and that you have, 10 plus extra pounds of fat hanging around. I want dad bod to be, I'm strong and fit, and that's an example that my children and other fathers have to look to and say, being a dad means that you are fit because you need to be fit in order to take care of your family.
That's right.
And so I personally, I want to see the culture change on that, all around us in our nation, and see, no longer that it's not that everybody has to be a weightlifter or anything like that, but no longer that it's acceptable to just be lazy because we're dads, but that we should take our health serious. So that's what it means.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I mean, I enjoyed it just as much as anybody who's probably going to listen to this, because our stories are so similar. Our stories, other than I'm a little bit older than you, but our stories are so similar. And the struggles that you go through, and the emotional struggles and the mental struggles and all of that are just so, and it's a great thing. I mean, it's, they say misery loves company, but there's some truth to it. I mean, you're like, okay, it wasn't so odd for me to feel that way. It isn't so odd for me to feel that way. And I think that's right. I think that is a huge, huge encouragement, not only to me, not only to you, but just to anybody else who's listening to this or watching this, that, all of those things are real and the struggles are real, but you can push through them.
That's right.
Would you, when this gets posted in a few minutes, sometime when you got a chance, would you do us the favor of doing a quote unquote before and after, so that we can see where you were at one point and where you're at now? And
I can, yeah.
Obviously, you're part of the Defining Dad Bod community. Keep us posted how your certification goes, and man, it's always great to chat with you. But it's a really good story, and it's gonna just really inspire people to keep going. Even people who have 10 kids, it's gonna inspire them. It's gonna inspire them to keep going. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you to everybody for watching. I know this ran a little bit long, but it was a worthwhile story, and I'm glad that it did. So please, if you have the chance, go back and listen to it. If you hadn't had the chance to listen to it all right now, check it out. The first podcast for the Transformation Tuesday interviews will be posted on May 5th, and we're going to have the first month of Transformation interviews posted on the podcast. So if you don't have a chance to listen to them now, check them out on the podcast coming out on May 5th. Thank you very much. I am John Bauer. Alex Van Houten, have a great afternoon. I know you've been watching, and it's good to see you, buddy. Keep pounding it out. We both appreciate what you are doing here very much. And again, if there's anything that either Alex or I or even Ian can do, hunt us down. Alex is right here. I'm right here sometimes. I'm also over at Bauerpower Fitness Consulting, and Ian is a part of the community, so post and tag Ian as well. So thanks again, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day. Yep.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of what I hope is several, or a long, not just several, but just a long-standing opportunity to bring onto Defining Dad Bod people who have literally transformed their lives. And when I talk about transformations, I talk about not only physical transformations, but mental transformations. And I am absolutely honored to be here. I'm honored to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to being a long-standing part of this. I've known Alex for about 4 or 5 months. I met Alex through a couple of other Facebook groups that we are both a part of, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a part of this this opportunity to bring these interviews to you. And for those of you who don't know me or have not seen any of my introductory videos up to this point, I'm John Bauer, and I am based out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I recently have jumped into the fitness business myself. I have started Bauerpower training, and you can find that Facebook page on as well. And if there are any questions or anything like that as you are getting involved in your fitness journey, if there are questions that I can answer for you or ways that I can help you, I would be glad to do that. And while I'm waiting, we're waiting for my interview to get on and get started. I do see Alex is on. Alex, I hope you're doing well. I think you, if I'm not mistaken, you are still in Cabo, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm guessing, I think you're on your way home today. But I hope you have had an amazing vacation. Hope you're going to come home rested and refreshed and excited to get going. Nellis, how are you? Good to see you on here as well. And I am waiting for my interview to get on. And my interview today is with Jason Daves. Jason is a quote-unquote real-life friend of Alex. They're both based out of Colorado. And hopefully, as soon as Jason hops on here, we will have a great story to bring to you. I know I've had a chance to talk with him a little bit, and we will get him on here and get started and get going with some good information, his exciting transformation. So we just got to wait. This is one of the things about Facebook when we do these Facebook Live things is got a little time lapse here, and I know that Jason is online, but I don't see that he's watching the Facebook Live video. And once he starts watching, I will bring him on. Alex, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. Oh, we got a third one here. I'm wondering if that's Jason. It may take just a second to oh, I'm getting a message from Jason that he's not seeing our video. So, like I said, this is always the fun part of this stuff is catching. Angela, Jason's your brother. That's awesome. Hopefully we can find him on here. He says he can't find the interview. So bear with me, everybody. And, all the fun of technology. So he says he can't find us. So we're hoping we can figure this out here. Okay. Oh, there he is. Jason? Oh, there we go. There you are, man.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm alive.
You're alive? You got to be doing better than alive, man. How you doing?
Just got done doing a whole core workout a minute ago. So
What do you do
good.
for a core workout? Tell us.
I just did planks, side planks, hanging crunches, bunch of weighted stuff, weighted crunches. One of my newest ones is a judo flip I've been doing lately, kind of stuff like
Wow.
that.
Okay, I'm totally going to ask you off the top of my head. Planks. What's the longest plank you can do? How long can you go?
3 minutes.
That's good. That's good. I've heard of people going up to 5, but I don't know if I didn't know where you were at, so I figured I'd ask. Um, so let's get started. You have got an amazing story. Hello? We lost you, man. Uh, we lost him. Hopefully we're getting him back here. There you go. You went away for a minute there. Don't
I
go anywhere.
know.
Don't go anywhere. I got to talk to you, man. I can't do this on my own. You got a great story to tell us. And so what I want you to do is just kind of go back, and I kind of like to do this chronologically is the way I like to go. So tell me a little bit about you fitness-wise as far as back in childhood and high school, and then kind of how you got to kind of the bad spot where you were at is kind of start from there. So kind of, yeah, just tell us that much so far.
Well, back in school, I was always known as the kind of chunky guy. Right? I
Okay.
did play football. I did wrestle. I did do a lot of sports type stuff. I used to skateboard. I was pretty active, but I was always pretty chunky.
Okay.
So,
And when you say
you know,
chunky, tell me a little bit. I mean, were you bulky? Were you muscular bulky, or were you just? I mean,
I
I
was
hate to
I
use the
was
word fat,
fat.
but okay.
I was fat. Plain and simple.
Okay. Diet a big thing for you, or diet was not a big thing for you in school?
I really was not. I mean, I was a cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger kind of guy. That's all that I used to eat. You know, and
Okay.
learning how to learn how to eat chicken and rice and stuff like that. That was really hard on me.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
high school, how big of a guy were you? Can you give me some numbers?
in high school, I can't really say about how big I was. I'd probably say, there was one point I got really, really skinny, then I went really fat again. So
Okay.
I would say back in high school, I was probably like 235, 240, somewhere right around there.
And how tall of a guy are you?
I'm 5'9", five foot
Okay.
ten, somewhere around there.
Okay. So when you get into the 200s, you're a pretty big guy.
hmm
Okay. So what kind of give us the rundown? What happened after high school?
Uh, you know, uh, got married. I have 3 kids.
How old?
Got my oldest is 24. My second one is 21, and my son is 14.
Okay. So you get married, have kids. What happens then?
And I just kind of got, doing the normal everyday things, and I kept gaining weight, kept gaining weight, kept gaining weight,
Uh-huh.
and never felt any need to do anything about it at the time.
Okay.
I'd research about it, go to the gym, do it for about 2 weeks, and then it's like, this sucks. Ain't
Okay.
doing this anymore.
Okay.
You know, Went through that repetitive motion for many years.
Okay. And you at this point I mean, you were working a pretty long shift where you worked. I remember you told me a little bit about this when we talked last week. Where were
Mhm.
you working at that time? Or what were you doing for a job?
Well, I did over the road trucking for a while,
Okay.
which that did not help at all.
Yeah, no doubt. No
And
doubt.
then after that, I went into warehouse management where I was working anywhere between 12 to 16 hours a day.
Okay.
And I'd only eat one meal a day. That was one of my biggest problems
Why did you only eat one meal a day?
because that's all the time I seemed to have
Okay.
for it.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about that meal.
It was always huge. Always,
Okay.
it was always a big dinner.
Okay.
And shortly after, I'd be in bed,
Okay.
which we all know that is not good for you.
Right. When you say big dinner, be specific, because I know you told me a little bit about this, and I want everybody else to hear it as well.
We'd like maybe 2 steaks, baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, then junk food after that. I mean, it was always not a very good diet.
Okay. And how big did you get? Do you have any idea as far as numbers?
Uh, when I decided that I was going to make the change, I was at 286 pounds.
Okay. And tell us a little bit what brought about the decision to make the change.
Well, I had there was an annual physical that I had to do for my job in order to keep our health insurance. Went to that physical. The doctor wanted to put me on blood pressure medicine. Uh, she told me I was pre-diabetic and this and that, and she wanted to put me on like 3 different types of pills. I'm like, I'm one person, I'm not a big pharma type guy, so I'm like, no, you're not doing that to me. I'll figure out a way to fix this myself.
Okay.
Then it became about 2 weeks later, went to get out of bed. Quite frankly, I didn't get out of bed, I fell out of bed. Just kind of laid there on the ground, looked up at the ceiling, looked at the walls. I probably laid there for a good 20 minutes, feeling sorry for myself for a little bit. You know, like, what am I going to do? This just really sucks. I can't hardly move anymore. It's just really bad. So something came over me and it snapped. I got up, got dressed, walked out the door. My wife's like, where are you going? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll be back in a minute. I go and I get a membership at 24 Hour. I go to Big Five, get me some clothes. I go to GNC, get a little bit of this, a little bit of that to help, with the exercise program,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't looked back since.
Okay. And so you did all that. Had you been, you mentioned before, had you been doing research on all of this, or how did you know what to get at GNC for the goal that you were setting for yourself?
I had done research prior, because, I had tried a couple times to go to the gym and tried to get healthy, but it just wasn't working at the time. My mindset was not there.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I had the knowledge. It was more of the will to get up and get it done.
Okay. And when you say the mindset wasn't there, what was the mindset that was finally there that last time? The difference.
Thinking about my health and how my kids saw me. That was one of the main things. Was how does my kids see me?
Yeah. And what did you feel at that point? I mean, what did you perceive that they saw you as at that point?
Not very healthy, not very active. Just I'm just there.
Right.
I felt like I was just there.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
So you get up, you go to the gym, you go to GNC, you get yourself together, you get your clothes, and you head to the gym. And how did you get started?
Well, first off, I started out with basically I would do an HIT workout in first thing.
Okay.
Right as I walked into the door, I'd do like maybe a minute at a slow pace, then I just run balls to the walls for about 30 seconds and then cool down for another minute. I did that for like 15 minutes intervals.
And
And then
what kind of stuff did you do when you were first doing that?
as far as like the treadmill, I would
Yeah.
do treadmill.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I would do the treadmill, and then after I did that, then I would have it set up to where I would do an upper body workout, and then the next day I'd do lower body workout, but I'd keep that HIT training there
Okay.
every day.
Okay. Okay. And so how long ago did you start this? I mean, how long ago did you start this process of really driving yourself?
About 4 years ago.
About 4 years ago. Okay. And you're about 280, 285 at that point?
Yep, I was
Okay.
about 286.
Okay. So kind of bring us up to speed. Tell us a little bit about the road you took for those 4 years and where you've arrived at now as far as your fitness.
Well, within 8 months of actually starting, I got down to 176.
So you dropped 100 pounds in 8 months.
Correct.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there looking at myself, and I'm like, yeah, this is all nice and dandy. I was 176, but what bothered me was I was at 176 and 20% body fat.
Okay.
So I'm like, this ain't good. I didn't like the way I looked.
Right.
So I got on the bandwagon of, okay, let's start building. Let's start building muscle. Let's start building, getting as big as we can, So, that's where I've been for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And now I'm sitting at about 220 pounds, and I just did my measurements Monday, and I'm sitting at 15.1%.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. What's your favorite type of workout?
I love chest and tri day. I love chest.
I don't think there's a guy that doesn't like chest and tri day. I got to agree with you there. So what, are you still doing cardio as well, or is it all just weightlifting, or what do you do?
Well, right now I just started cardio back up because I'm trying to get that fat percentage down.
Okay.
So I have gotten a program together to help with my metabolic rate, and I've been working on that for the last 2 weeks, which I've already dropped 3.8% body fat starting in that 2 weeks. So I'm hoping to get down into the single digits with my body fat within 4 or 5 months.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about your diet now. I'm presuming cheeseburgers are not on the daily menu anymore.
No, cheeseburgers are definitely not on the daily menu. If I do a burger, it's straight, natural burger. It's 96%, and I'll do it just the burger. No ketchup, no nothing. It's just the pat. Chicken, rice, broccoli, vegetables. Don't do too much fruit. Every once in a while I'll do fruit. But yeah, try to keep the diet clean as much as possible.
Okay. What is your go-to cheat meal?
My go-to cheat meal.
Yeah. If you get to have anything you want for a cheat day, what is it?
That's tough because there's so many of them.
Give me 2. I'll give you 2.
I'd have to say pizza.
Okay. What toppings?
Everything.
Everything. Okay. Might as well gonna do it all if you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it right. That's awesome. And what's your other one?
One of my biggest things that is a definite no-no is Ritz crackers and pimentos on cheese.
Really? That's interesting. Why is that a no-no? Is that something like once you start you can't stop?
Yeah, I'll sit there and I'll eat the whole jar and the whole package of Ritz.
Yeah, you know what? I can totally relate to that one because when I was heavy, before I started my transformation, we had small kids, and the thing we always had in the house was goldfish. And those goldfish, you had those, and they were like freaking cocaine. I mean, you could not stop. I mean, there's no concept of what a serving of goldfish is. So it's like you just kept eating goldfish. And when I started losing weight, that was what I gave up. And I have not had a goldfish in over 10 years. I had to quit. I couldn't do it. So I totally get it. I totally get it. Is it hard for you? I mean, some people it's easy to do the diet part. Some people it's hard. Is it hard or easy for you?
It comes and goes. There's times where it's easy, especially when you get yourself into a routine and you get yourself, you plan everything out beforehand each week. I recommend everybody does that because otherwise it's going to make it that much harder for you to stick to the plan. You
Right.
you plan everything out for your week. You already have it made.
Mhm.
You already have it ready to go. So you know what you're eating.
Right.
There's no, what am I going to eat now? And
Right.
that's one thing that I got to tell people is, if you're planning on doing something like this, make sure your diet's right.
Right, because diet's such a huge portion of this. I mean, we all love it. We all love our gym time. There's no question, but diet is such a huge, important part of this. So, incredible transformation. You're hoping to get down into the single digits of body fat, and on top of all of that, changing yourself, you have totally shifted more of your life. Tell everybody else what you're doing now.
I am 4 weeks away from starting my internship with Lifetime Fitness. I've been in school for the last, 9 months. I'm going for my certified master's in training and nutrition. So I have completely changed my life from warehouse management, and I want to help people find the joy that I have found in health and fitness.
Yeah, I mean that's such a big part, and I mean I can relate to that completely too. Is just you get to a point where you realize how awesome life can be when you're healthy and you're fit, and I mean the first is just you turn around and you want to do it for everybody else too, and just make everybody else understand. Um, how have let me ask you this, how has your wife and your kids responded to all of this? Because these are the people who have watched you go through the whole thing, and how have they responded to this change? I mean, what are their reactions, and how do they deal with it?
Well, I think, with my two daughters, they've tried a couple times to get on the healthy bandwagon, but you can't push them. They
Right.
need to,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't push them. Otherwise, they're just going to back away even further. I'm hoping that they just keep watching me and get inspired and actually end up doing the healthy things that they need to be doing. My wife, I think she's taken it very well. I mean, she looks at me differently, so yeah,
Added advantage.
yeah. So you know, I think everybody's taken it very positively. My son most definitely, because he's gotten very active. He's always trying to do things, and he's always wanting to go to the gym with me when he can. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's reacted pretty positively, and it kind of outgrows, and it grows out from where you're at.
Right.
Other people see what you've done, and they ask you for help, and that's why I decided, I started helping people reach the kind of goals that they wanted to reach, and that's what made me decide that I needed to become a professional fitness trainer,
Right. Right.
and because it just made me feel good to help other people.
Right. Right. Have any other members of your family kind of caught on to the whole craze with you? I think you had told me that maybe somebody had. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought you had told me when we talked.
My father-in-law, he's been doing
Yeah.
very well.
Okay.
He's been working hard and doing a lot of the right things, and
Yeah.
he's he's getting there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to say I had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Once people see what can happen, I'm sure that's a real inspiration to them. Let me ask you this as we kind of wind things up. If you could give people who are getting started on this kind of journey, on this kind of transformation, if you could give them two pieces of advice, what would they be?
My first advice would be, get up, start moving, do something. Don't don't be stationary. Once give it give it 4 to 6 weeks. Once you start seeing a result, it becomes an addiction. It becomes an addiction for real, and you won't be sorry. I'm telling you,
Right.
you won't be sorry. And number two, just be proud of who you are, and just make the make the right choices, and look around and see who's looking at you. and who's looking up to you. Be inspiration for others.
That's awesome. And sometimes I think, and I don't know if you can agree with me or not, but sometimes as someone who has been heavier and has gone through this, it's kind of hard to understand that you are inspiring others, but people are watching. There is no question that people are watching, and it's a real challenge to keep you going, and it's kind of a form of accountability, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's been times where, I get to the gym and I'm like, oh, it's shoulder day. I really don't want to do this today. And so I sit there in the truck for about 5 minutes and it's like, all right, gotta go. Get in there,
Yep.
start doing it. After your second exercise, you're like, God, I'm glad I'm in here.
Yep. Yep. There's no pain like the pain of regret. That's
Exactly.
the biggest pain ever, is there's no
That's the
pain like
best
the pain
way
of
to put it.
regret. Yeah.
That's the best way
Hey,
to put it.
man, this has been great, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been awesome to have you as my first interview. It's a great one. I think it's especially awesome because you're somebody that has not only gone down this journey yourself, but now, like so many, like Alex and like so many others, they're turning around and giving to others, and I think that that's a great way to think about it. Just kind of a paying it forward. So, I mean, congratulations. Real quick, I was going to ask you, and I meant to ask you the other day, do you have, if you possibly could find a before picture, and when this posts in the Defining Dad Bod page, if you would down in the comments post a picture of you when you were maybe closest to your heaviest, just so we can see, and then a recent picture of you. If you could do that down in the comments, that would be awesome.
Most definitely.
Okay. Hey, and keep us posted how you're doing with your certification and training and stuff like that. It'd be great to hear how things are going for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much, and thank everybody on here for taking the time to watch. We've had a good number of people watching. I know that more people will see this or hear this actually at the end of April, when this is part of the Defining Dad Bod podcast. And I would certainly say, if anybody who's either watching or listening has any questions or anything that we can do to help you, Jason, I'm sure, would be glad to answer questions for you. You can reach out to him on the Defining Dad Bod page. And I certainly am glad too. You can either find me on the Defining Dad Bod page, just tag me in your question, post something on there and tag me. I'll be glad to get back to you. Or you can jump over. I think Alex has got a link on his page over to my page, Bauerpower Fitness Consulting. I would be glad to talk with you. Feel free to message me over there and get back to you as well. So, hey, man, thanks again, Jason, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and best of luck to you on your training career.
All righty. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot,
Have
man.
a good day, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're back, and hopefully this time we will have a shorter lag time. If Chris is on and he starts watching, we will jump on here. Patience. I appreciate everybody's patience with all of these technological difficulties. It's always a little bit confusing. There we go.
That's fine. No worries.
Hey, man.
Hey!
There we go.
Sorry
Always the
about
fun.
that. I was on
The
the
first
computer.
5 minutes of these things are always the worst, because it's like figuring out all the technology, and
Sure.
for some reason, and I found this out even when doing ones with Alex, is for some reason you can't do these Facebook Lives on computers yet. That they don't have. There's not. It's ridiculous. I mean, it would seem to make more sense to do it on a computer than on a phone, but nonetheless, we are on, so we will get started because we're a little bit behind. And I know you are having a very busy day today. There is a rumor that we may have a guest appearance while we're talking.
Very possible. You know, he sees me talking, and my son Braxton's here with me today, and he sees me talking. He'll probably wonder why I'm interrupting his movie and want to on with Daddy.
What movie is he watching?
Oh, we're watching Monsters vs. Aliens right now.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, you know what? That I would be annoyed too. If somebody was talking over Monsters versus Aliens, I'd be completely annoyed too.
That's not
Huge priority. Hey, thank you for taking the time. Like I said, I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot going on, but I appreciate you taking the time to join us on our second Transformation Tuesday. I know that your story is a little bit different than some of that we've had in the past.
Definitely.
But what I would like to do, and I always like to do this kind of at the beginning, it's the easiest way to do it, is to kind of go back a little bit in time. And if you kind of would fill in some gaps as far as, your youth, your teenage years, athletics, how you were involved in stuff like that, and kind of just go through where fitness, and you are a personal trainer, so where fitness and personal training has kind of taken you on your transformation journey.
Yeah, sure. So I was playing sports from a young age, not as young as most. I started at 9 with baseball, and I was just absolutely horrible because I'd never played before, but I really loved the sport, so I practiced a lot, and I became better as I got older, and I was able to play through Little League, Dixie Youth, all that good stuff, into high school, college, and then I had a pro stint, and throughout training.
And don't be modest. Tell us a little bit about the pro stint. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I signed initially with the Albuquerque Isotopes, which back then in the early 2000s was the Dodgers organization. Now I'm not sure where they are. And I learned a very valuable life lesson as well as a lesson in all business. Read what you sign. I had terrible dealings with an agent, and I ended up playing for about 2 years, getting to pitch in a couple of spring games against the Giants and the Mariners, which was pretty awesome. And all of everything that I signed is pretty much null and void now, simply because the process of legality from suing my agent for the money he was stealing from me and this and that ended up where everything that we had signed were all the documents were null and void. So it took a sport that I really loved, and it just made it seem so much more than just work. It made it just almost something that I hated, and that was a bad feeling. So I got back into sports after that, playing in summer leagues. I started my own team, and we traveled around the country playing and had a great time. So lesson learned there. Read everything you sign before you sign.
And I got to ask you, you pitched against some major league teams. Did you pitch again? Who did you pitch against? There's got to be a name or two you can drop for us.
Was the biggest for me. He was a terrifying beast, that guy. He was a big guy, and he was one of the very few batters that actually stepped into the batter's box that I was intimidated by.
Wow.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Was it just his size, or what was it that intimidated you?
Yeah, he just his size. He was massive. I had never seen a guy that big.
Did you strike him out? That's the question. Did you strike him out?
Grounded out.
Okay. Well,
look, it's a win in my book, right? He didn't hit it.
Exactly. So. An out is an out.
Exactly. One in the books.
Exactly. So after you did that, you went back, and what did you do after that?
Yeah, sure. So I was in school for athletic training. And I was in the rec center one day at the University of Alabama, and I saw a guy just helping another guy out with some exercises, with the bench press, and he was taking him over to the different spaces in the gym and actually showing him how to work out and teaching him things. And I couldn't help but notice it the entire time I was working out, and it made me more and more curious. So at the end of my session, he was finishing up with the gentleman he was with as well, and I had just approached him. I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm a personal trainer." I said, "What is that?" Because this looks awesome. I said, "That's a job." And he's like, "Yeah,
this is a thing."
I paid to do this. He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." I had no clue. Here I am sitting in athletic training and see this guy that's a personal trainer. And so I asked him a little bit about how, he became a personal trainer. He explained to me, and within probably 2 months, I was certified and started my own training business that grew pretty well. I had, trainers in several different states, and, and I've been doing it ever since. So Athletic training was fun, but like I said, I was a college athlete, so in a way, I felt like I could do more than just be an athletic trainer to help people in a different capacity. I wanted more of a personal connection instead of, hey, I'm just going to tape your ankle up, get out there and go back on the field and play. I wanted that, me and you time where we can actually sit and talk, and I can learn more about who you are and what your journey in life is, and actually help you along the way. So that's kind of why I left athletic training for personal training. And then I'm a super nerd, so I went back to school for biomedical science. I was considering surgery. I spent probably 2,000 hours in surgery. And I'm like, this is just not something that I'm going to do. I just don't want to do it. The time you spend with the person after they are repaired is minimal at best. And, most surgeons, I would say, listen to probably 15 to 30 seconds of what the client is actually saying to them while they're trying to run through their head. Okay, is the wound healing properly? Are they healing properly? Is there any damage here, damage there? What can I do to help? So you don't really get that personal connection.
Right.
So no matter what I've done, I've always went back to training, and that's kind of where I feel most comfortable, actually, and I just love it. Every day for me is just awesome when I'm training. I love it. I wake up and I'm happy to do what I do.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's a huge thing, is to have the ability to combine a passion with something you know how to do. I mean, that in and of itself is a big deal. And then on top of it, to be able to really make a living doing it as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So I mean, that's a huge three-way combination. So how does a transformation for you fit into that story of baseball player, athletic trainer, personal trainer?
Right. And my story, the reason I did what I'm doing now, I'm in between week 12 and 13 of a transformation, of a 16-week transformation that I created. And the reason I created this is because I wanted to be able to give clients something substantial, something tangible that they can see, that they can look at and say, okay, this worked, and this guy was already fit. Now look at, he is more fit, right? Because you talk about transformation, you talk about, people losing 100, 150 pounds, and that's great. That is, don't get me wrong, that is an incredible feat. However, the first, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds is more of a lifestyle change.
Right.
And it's simply a matter of moving instead of not moving. With
Right.
me, it's different. If you're already an athlete, or you're already in shape, or you feel that you have the athlete body type, it's a little different for you when you want to become more in shape. And so I designed this 16-week program to where I'm going to change my body type. And at the beginning, I was 230 pounds, 228 to be exact, and roughly 18.87% body fat. So that's not bad, being a 230 pound with 18% body fat.
And how tall are you?
6'2". I'm 6'2".
6'2". Okay.
Yeah, so
Always, you know what? I've learned you've got to ask that, because 230 pounds for
right.
somebody who's 5'4" is a lot different than 230 pounds for somebody like me who's 6'4". Yeah.
Right. So during this transformation, we do what's called mesocycles, and Alex, you ask him about those, he'll tell you about them. We have the same view of cycles that you go through as far as training to keep your body guessing and to make your body adapt to something and then make it change.
And just for everybody who's not a trainer, I mean, you and I were talking and we're saying mesocycles and things like that. We know what we're saying. Just kind of, if you would define a little bit about a mesocycle and then the other two portions of it as well, just so people know what we're talking about.
So mine consisted of about 4 different cycles. Okay, so these cycles can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks long, or anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks long, just depending on your body and how you adapt, right, to what you're doing. Right. Once you adapt, it's time to change. So my mesocycles typically were about 4 weeks long, and I started out with a stability mesocycle, which means I'm getting my joints ready to actually physically do work. I'm making sure I'm stable. All the little intrinsic muscles that are supposed to stabilize your body are stabilizing it at the end of that cycle. From that cycle, I move into more of an endurance phase because I wanted to have my body ready to endure a little bit more of strength training later on. So I went from a mesocycle of stability to a mesocycle of endurance where it's just high repetition, lower weight, adding a little bit more cardio towards at the end of our workouts. And from there, I went to a strength/endurance type workout, more strength so than endurance, to actually gain a little bit more muscle mass back. That because of course you go through endurance and you're losing some muscle.
Right.
And then my next phase, which I'm terrified of, is power, which is more plyometric box jumps and things of that nature, just where it's explosive movements that are going to.
And rightly so that you're afraid of those. Those scare me too.
Right,
those scare me too.
Plyometric jumping and stuff, it's going to be great. So when we talk about a mesocycle, that's what I'm talking about. The time it takes you to complete some type of phase of your training, whether it's strength, endurance, stability, or power. And that's what I mean by that. So what I've done is I've been through the stability, the endurance, and I'm in the kind of strength phase right now. Currently, I took all my measurements yesterday, just so I'd be fresh for you today.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I'm at 198 pounds, so that's a dramatic weight drop. My measurements, I'm bigger. My body, my chest circumference, my bicep, my tricep, all that, everything's bigger. And my body fat was at 8.89%.
Wow.
So I dropped 10% body fat.
And over what time period have you done that?
12 weeks, 12 and a half weeks.
Wow.
Right. And it's not just the exercising either. It's also with nutrition, because that's.
It was my next question. You read my mind very well.
And I didn't cut calories because, set point weight, you talk about that. You cut calories and it's going to be detrimental to you in the end. How you want to lose the calories is through the exercise. You want to eat healthy and eat the calories you should be consuming a day for your body weight and who you are. And then your calories are cut with the exercise. So it's not a matter of cutting the calories out of your diet. It's a matter of eating clean, which I did. Right. So it was no drinking, not drinking a lot. A glass of wine here or there at dinner isn't going to put you way back out on the scale, another 10 pounds. So it's really cleaning up the diet and being very regimented with your exercise routine, staying consistent with it, staying on your path, and then getting sleep. We have a baby on the way right now, so I get as much sleep as I can at night because that's your recovery period, right? When you work out, sleeping is when you're doing most of your recovery. So, it's exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Right.
Great. So, so how close are you to the end of this mesocycle on your program here?
I'll finish this mesocycle, the strength one, Sunday. Coming Sunday. Yep.
And then that's when you go over to the power. And how long is the power?
As long as I want it to be.
Or as short as you want it to be.
I'm going to shoot for 2.5 to 3 weeks on this one.
Okay.
Probably a fourth, but I think during that fourth week, it'll be about time to start doing some cool down stuff like foam rolling and stretching a little bit more, maybe more yoga and things of that nature, just to relax my body a little bit and congratulate it. Hey, good job.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess the question is for somebody, like I said, you and I are sitting here talking, we're talking big terms, we're talking two trainers. You're obviously a lot more educated on this than me. I'm still in the newbie phase, but I'm learning, and it's good for me to talk to you. Sure. When you're talking to somebody who's just like average guy on the street, how do you convey all of this to somebody on average guy on the street so that because they look at you and they're going to look at pictures of you and they're going to see, geez, he's always been in shape. How do you convey the differences that it's making in a way that's going to motivate and give somebody the discipline that's just, the average guy that's really struggling with weight or whatever?
Right. Well, that's when, trainers are personal trainers for that reason. You get personal. So when I first meet someone, it's a good conversation. We build up the rapport, right? I want to talk to them like I'm their best friend because that's what I'm trying to be. Look, guys, I'm trying to help you with what you want to do with your life. If you want to be an athlete or you want to have the body type that you see me walking around with, we can get you there. It's just going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight thing, and it's going to be a lifestyle change. That's the biggest thing that I try to get across to people is you're going to have to change some things in your life. So if you're ready to make the sacrifice for fitness, then let's move forward. So it's almost like an interview to see if, where they are in the stages of, are they contemplating, are they in the action phase, something like that. So if they're in the action,
I'm having NASM flashbacks because I just took it about 3 weeks ago. I'm having flashbacks, but go ahead.
And it's so true. I mean,
it is.
Broken, don't fix it, right? So it's definitely true. If you have someone that just says, oh, I want to be, a CrossFit athlete, or I want to be a professional athlete, or I want to have a six-pack, you can't just sit down and say, I want to have a six-pack and not get up and do something about it and get a six-pack. You can't do supplements. You can't do pills. You can't do anything aside from surgery. But that's the cheater way out, right? So you're not going to be healthy if you have surgery. You're not going to be healthy if you just take the fat burning supplements and things of that nature. You actually have to change your life. You have to be a fit person to look fit. And it's not about, for me, it's not so much the outer appearance. I don't do this to be all shredded up, because believe me, it takes so much work for me to have a six-pack. My wife has one in 12 seconds. I take so long to get even a glimmer of a six-pack showing. It's pathetic. So for me, it's I have two sons, one on the way, right? I have one 2.5-year-old and one that's about 3 weeks away, I think. And it's about being there for them and being here and being fit and being a role model and leading by example for them and my family, and how I feel internally. So it's not about the outward appearance. It's great and all to be looking like you're a strong, tough guy, right? But that's not what it's about. It's more about the feeling that you have. I have more energy. I'm happier, right? I can control my anger and myself better. Your emotions are so much more stable when you work out. It's a great release of endorphins that just make you happy. So that's why I do it. And that's what I try to convey to people that are new to exercising. Hey, you're not where you want to be, but that doesn't matter. Let's not focus on this, where you are now. Let's focus on, first, let's look at the long-term goal. Where do you want to be, right? And let's take small steps to get you there. So gradually over time, you'll make it to where you want to be if you stick with it and you actually make it a lifestyle change and not just something you're going to do for 6 months to a year.
Right. Let me kind of wrap this up. Hey, we've done really well. I haven't seen your son at all. The movie must be going really well.
He is in the movie. You want to see him? Hey, Braxton, you want to say hey? Nope, into the movie.
Nope. We were all worried we were going to get interrupted. He was going to be calling all over you. Now it's worked great. As we kind of wrap up, though, any advice for people who are contemplating all these changes? I mean, coming from somebody like you, again, who's kind of been in good shape all their life, any advice or encouragement or specific things that you would say as far as definitely for people who are really striving, to keep in shape? And I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I don't think you're a whole lot younger than me. You are somewhat younger. Everybody apparently that I know is younger than me. But I mean, we get into our 30s, we get into our 40s, we get into our 50s, and so it gets harder and harder, more challenging. But I mean, I think what you said about staying healthy for your kids and for your family is great. But any other advice or things of encouragement that you would offer?
Yeah, good advice would be to get a buddy, have a partner system. Yeah. Really a struggle for you, have somebody that'll call you and say, get off the couch and come work out with me. Yeah. Or just say, get off the couch and go work out.
Right.
A buddy is something that's going to be great. It's going to keep you accountable. Right. If you don't have a buddy, get a trainer. Right. Get a trainer. A trainer will keep you motivated. A trainer will keep you accountable. And a trainer will actually help guide you through these exercises so that you're not doing them alone and you're not in risk of hurting yourself, and you actually have a program set for yourself. So also just, aside from having a trainer, having a buddy, keep grinding. And just do it and keep doing it and don't stop, and you'll thank yourself later. So do something today that your future self will thank you for every day.
That's good advice. I like that. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. That's really good. And obviously, you're a trainer. I'm a trainer. We're obviously both going to say get a trainer. But I mean, we're both
we're both, you can find us both, and we're both more than willing to, kind of point you in different directions or help you out however we can.
100%.
So, I mean, feel free to reach out. I know you're tagged on the interview itself, and I'm tagged a lot in Defining Dad Bod. So, I mean, either one of us was glad to help you. Hey, keep us posted on how this goes, and keep us posted. Post something on Defining Dad Bod from time to time, and let us know how things are going.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys some. I'll send you some before and after photos along the way.
Awesome. And you know what? If you would do that when you get in on the page, do that in the comments to this interview, so that way people will see it right there.
Yes, sir.
That'd be great.
That's not a problem.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Having me, it was wonderful, my friend.
Okay. Take care.
You as well. Enjoy your day.
Bye-bye.